Hey, what is up guys? My name is Edward Ornelas, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing, will Bitcoin keep going higher? And if so, how much higher can it go? In my last video, guys, I don't know if you guys remember this was over a month ago now. It's almost dated at this point. It's very old. I discussed about how the Bitcoin had the probability of pulling back. And at the time, I was targeting close to around 6,000, all right? Obviously, it did not do that. Obviously, it went the opposite direction. But let's discuss why, all right? So it was important to discuss the why, all right? So if we pull up our EMAs, guys, a big influence when it comes to these EMA structures is the daily and the 4-hour EMA, especially the 200 exponential moving average. If you guys can see it right here, it's this little purple line. So let me actually make this a little bit brighter if I can, right? In fact, let's make it blue. All right, so you guys can see right here, this little blue line right here. This blue line right here, the 200 exponential moving average, plays a huge role and has been playing a huge role since Bitcoin started its uptrend back in February of 2019. So you can see right here, we had a couple retests towards that 200 moving average, and then we shot up. And every single time, we'd bounce right off that 200 moving average. We did so back over here as well in April of 2019. It didn't quite touch it as much, but we did end up getting pretty dang close to breaking below it back over here on June 9th, around June of last month, right? I think we're still in June. Actually, we're still in June. So earlier this month. But we ended up getting a couple of double bottoms, right? So the first double bottom was right here, actually. And we ended up bouncing out. And then we had another retest right here. And lo and behold, the 4-hourly on both times ended up closing above that 200 exponential moving average. And so we get a close like that above these exponential moving averages. That signifies that we're going to end up making some higher highs. As you guys can see right now, Bitcoin is currently sitting at around 12,800. Pretty much to summarize it, almost $13,000, which is absolutely phenomenal, guys. I've been in this market since Bitcoin was less than $1,000. So, for it to be at 13,000, the question remains now, is it a good idea to buy Bitcoin right now? And if so, will it keep going higher? Well, guys, I like to base everything on a risk to reward ratio, right? That's just the way I do my trades, the way I study whether, something's a good buy or not. And that's just overall, in my opinion, how you're going to be profitable in the long run, right? So with that being said, guys, as of right now, we're standing at a $13,000 resistance structure, right? The reason I said is because if we actually go back all the way back to December 2017 and January of 2017 or so, you guys can see right here, December 2017, January 2018, you guys can see right here, we did end up bouncing off the support structure, right? But later on, we did break this support, and in fact, we rejected it back here as well. If you guys can see right here, this is actually where we're closely lining up to this rejection point right here. And right there, that's actually where I'd argue where we started commencing our downtrend, right? From that point, that's when we had our resistance line. So 13,000, in my opinion, is a very strong resistance before we can actually get to 20,000. So in terms of risk to reward ratio, it really doesn't pan towards the upside, for us to necessarily, if we were trying to buy in, your upside as of right now, as far as we know, is around 50%, right? The reason I say this is because, right now at its current highs, that would put you at 52%. Of course, that there's a possibility of it breaking above, and it could end up hitting 30,000 or perhaps even higher, around 40,000 or so, which would put us at around 100% to, of course, 200% or so. Again, that's just more of a guesstimate. That is not technical analysis. One of my rules that I stand by is, a long support, short resistance type deal, right? Or at least don't buy resistance, because it could get you into trouble. And it's very, very rare, that we do end up breaking resistance, especially on the first try, especially something that strong, so what you want to look for is a couple retests towards the upside. And, on the dips, when it's on the 200 EMA support structures or on an EMA support structure of some sorts, that's when it would probably be a better buy-in my opinion. But if you're buying for the long term, guys, because I know a lot of you guys aren't necessarily day traders or even swing traders, you guys are long-term day traders. I think that's definitely a hard one to pinpoint because, in my opinion, on the longer time frame, Bitcoin will eventually have to cool off quite a bit. And according to past trends, guys, when Bitcoin does cool off, so let's say, for example, right here. These are pretty good examples. But you can see right here, when Bitcoin had made highs from $400 to almost double, $800, you can see how quickly it retraced over 40%. Similarly, back here, when it went from like a few $100, $200, it still retraced over 27-30%, guys. And so, if this were to retrace right here, right now, that would put Bitcoin down at around $9,000, guys. That is a huge drop in price action. If you're sitting on the sidelines and you're looking at this and saying, wow, I wish I would have bought Bitcoin. In reality, guys, I think, in my opinion, altcoins really are next. And not only are they next, according to past trends, altcoins offer the best reward ratio, So let's say, for example, look at the Ethereum, guys. Ethereum in comparison to Bitcoin, right? Because if you actually compare it to Bitcoin, Bitcoin roughly is at around $800 in comparison to Ethereum, right? So meaning that right now, if Ethereum were to catch up to current Bitcoin's price action, it would put it at an upside of almost 130%. That is almost over double of what Bitcoin has to offer if it were to, if Bitcoin were to go to all-time highs. And if Bitcoin were to go to all-time highs, then that would put Ethereum at over 310%, guys. And again, that's assuming that we even stop out at its current highs. So in my opinion, altcoins just in general have been offering and just really have been providing more gains throughout this entire run since its bottom than even that of Bitcoin, right? You can see that Ethereum has been up over 327%. And that is just the Ethereum, right? If you actually look at coins like perhaps the XRP, right? XRP has been in this market for quite some time. It's been around since, 2014. So it is one of those coins that's here to stay. Ethereum, the XRP, as right now is only up 52% from its lows. But if you actually look at its to its current highs, it actually offers an upside of over 600%. 600%, guys. That's over 12 times the amount that Bitcoin has to offer right now, just in general. So what I would argue, in my personal opinion, guys, this is not financial advice, is that eventually, when the day comes, when Bitcoin has to eventually correct, that volume will eventually have to transfer over to somewhere. It's either going to be cash or it's going to be to a better opportunity. And according to past trends, guys, if you look at let's look at dominance. It has always transferred into altcoins after a huge run up, like the way we've seen with Bitcoin. Again, let's look at October of 2017. So the first time we had this transfer volume was back in October, and it quickly was shot down. And then second one was actually in December 2017. You can see how quickly it was shot down in dominance. You're probably saying, well, why is that the case? Well, guys, the reason this is shot down like that is because that volume was transferred again to the altcoins. And look, you can see right here clearly, that, altcoins were suffering, and then boom, they just shot up. They just spiked out of nowhere. And we're kind of seeing something similar right here, guys. We're seeing this kind of falling wedge right here in dominance, right? And eventually it's going to come to the point where that's a terrible falling wedge that I just drew there. But you guys get the idea, right? That eventually it's going to get to the point where eventually it's going to have to end up breaking out, and we're going to see a huge transfer volume into the altcoins. So just in general, if you're invested, or at least in altcoins that are going to provide probably the best reward, you're most likely going to have more upside with altcoins than Bitcoin right now, than just holding Bitcoin. Anyway, so if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, and again, let me know what you guys think about the whole new redesign. Is it a way to go or not? And yeah, be sure to show some love. Check out my social media accounts, links in the description below. And with that being said, I'll see you guys later.